Hi everyone, it's Miss Curran again. I'm going to start going over the packet, social studies packet pages, numbers 9, 10, 11, and 12. Number 9, starting on this page where it says already a U.S. citizen on top. Then we're going to read page 10 where you will see a timeline. Then we will see a page 11. And then finally, page 12 is something that we will fill out together. Okay, so you could follow along. Pages 10, 9, 10, 11 are information that we will need to fill out page 12. Citizenship, just the facts. Already a U.S. citizen? Citizenship means being a member of a country and having full rights and responsibilities under the country's laws. Some people are born a United States citizen. People who are born in the United States are automatically citizens at birth. So are people born outside the U.S. to parents who are both citizens. The rules can get a bit complicated for people born outside of the United States who have only one citizen parent, but generally they are also citizens at birth. Next section, becoming a U.S. citizen. What if you weren't born in the United States and neither of your parents are U.S. citizens? You can still become a citizen through a process called naturalization. To qualify, applicants must be at least 18 years old and have been permanent residents of the United States for 5 years. There are a couple of shortcuts. People who marry U.S. citizens or serve in the U.S. military for at least 1 year can become citizens faster. Applicants must also have good character, speak English, and pass a civics test in an interview. As a final step, they must take an oath of allegiance, swearing loyalty to the United States and our Constitution. Next section, allegiance. Citizens owe it. People who go through the naturalization process aren't the only ones who must be loyal to the United States. All U.S. citizens owe allegiance to our country. Treason is an act of betraying your country, and the U.S. Constitution makes this crime punishable by death. People who were born citizens may not think about allegiance as much as those preparing to take oath, but you can probably remember a time when you've said this word, maybe even this morning. Americans often say the Pledge of Allegiance to show loyalty to the United States flag and the nation it stands for. Okay, so the little caption under the American flag says the U.S. flag has one stripe for each of the 13 original states and one star for each current state. Right now there are 50 stars. Next section. Love of country. Beyond owing allegiance to the United States, most U.S. citizens feel a deep bond with their country. We call this feeling patriotism. Many citizens get emotional when they hear the national anthem, which is called the Star-Spangled Banner. Every July 4th, Americans celebrate Independence Day, the day the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, when the American colonies declared their independence from Great Britain. Other national holidays such as President's Day and Martin Luther King Jr. Day honor the lives and sacrifices of important Americans. Memorial Day and Veterans Day are two national holidays honoring those who lost their lives and served in the U.S. military, and they can be very emotional days for U.S. citizens. Okay, I will read the caption under the picture right here. It says, each Memorial Day, Americans in towns across the nation line up to watch local parades honoring those who have died. Source, Department of Defense. So that's where they got the picture from. All right, we are going to move on to the next page, page 10. Citizenship, just the facts, rights in the United States. The United States is known for the rights and freedoms given to those who live here. The first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution are called the Bill of Rights. They list important rights that are guaranteed to all Americans in the United States, not just citizens. These are rights like the freedom of expression and the freedom of worship, assemble peacefully and petition the government, as well as the right to be free from unreasonable searches by government officials. But some rights are only for U.S. citizens. These include the right to vote in federal elections, and the right to run for federal political office, and the right to serve on a jury. Okay, I'll read the caption under the picture right here. It says, those accused of a crime in the U.S. have the right to a speedy trial. Responsibilities too. Next section. Along with all of these freedoms comes some responsibilities. Everyone in the U.S. is responsible for obeying laws. Citizens are also responsible for voting in elections and serving on juries when asked. Yes, these are both rights and responsibilities. Male citizens between the age 18 and 26 must also register with the Selective Service System. In the time of national emergency, this agency is authorized to call up these citizens to serve in the armed forces. Okay, I'll read the caption under this picture right here. If needed, the Selective Service would use a lottery to draft men to service. Source: Selective Service System. All right, I'm going to go through the timeline now at the bottom of the page. It says U.S. citizenship timeline. 1776. You must be a white male and own property to vote. 1791. All white males may vote even if they don't own property. 1795. Free white persons will become citizens after living in the U.S. for 5 years. 1848. 80,000 Mexican residents of the Southwest are granted citizenship after the Mexican-American War. 1857. In Dred Scott v. Sanford, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that African Americans who were brought to this country as slaves could never be citizens. 1868. The 14th Amendment overrules Dred Scott v. Sanford, giving citizenship to African Americans. 1870. Laws changed to say that white persons and persons of African descent can be citizens. The 15th Amendment gives African Americans the right to vote. 1913. Several states enact alien land laws prohibiting non-citizens from owning property. 1920. The 19th Amendment allows women to vote. 1924. All Native Americans are granted citizenship. 1940s. All laws banning Asians from becoming citizens are overturned. 1947. Native Americans are given the right to vote. 1952. U.S. Congress passes a law that citizenship cannot be denied because of race or gender. 1965. The Voting Rights Act gets rid of all barriers to voting, such as taxes and literacy tests. 1971. The voting age is lowered from 21 to 18 by the 26th Amendment. Okay, we're going to flip over to page 11. The Naturalization Oath of Allegiance to the United States of America. Okay, so this is something when someone is trying to gain citizenship, that they take an oath towards the United States of America. I hereby declare an oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. That I will subject and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law. That I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Okay, so now we're going to start going over the last page, which has 4 boxes on it. Okay, just as a summary of what we just read. So the first box we're going to start off is the top left-hand corner that says citizenship. And once again, at any point you can pause this video if you need more time to copy the information. All right, the first column says birth. 2 main ways to be a U.S. citizen by birth. Okay, this was one of the first things they went over. The first one is you can be if you're born in the United States, okay, you become a U.S. citizen automatically, or if both your parents are U.S. citizens. Okay. The 6 requirements for naturalization that we talked about is 1, you have to be at least 18 years old. 2, a permanent resident in the United States for at least 5 years. So lived in the United States for at least 5 years. 3, have good character. 4, speak English. 5, pass test in an interview. And then 6, take oath of allegiance, which we just read. Okay, so I'll hold this up so you have a chance to copy it. Okay, we are next going to go over the top right corner where it says history. First column that says citizenship. Groups given the right to U.S. citizenship after 1860. Okay, so if you notice in the timeline, the 3 groups that were granted citizenship after 1860 were African Americans, Native Americans, and Asians. And then the next column that says voting. The group that has always had the right to vote from the very beginning were white males who owned property. Okay, that was the first point on our timeline. After that, the groups given the rights in 1870 were African Americans. In 1920, that was women. 1947 were Native Americans. And then in 1971, they moved the age from 21 down to 18. So I will hold this up so you have a chance to copy down that information. Okay, the next section we'll go over are the rights and responsibilities. Alright, the first column that says rights. 3 rights that only U.S. citizens have are they have the ability to vote in federal elections, they have the right to run for public office, and they have the right to serve on a jury. The next section says 3 rights that all U.S. residents have. So if you live in the United States, but you don't necessarily have to be a citizen. The freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, and no unreasonable searches. All right, the next column that says responsibility. Everyone in the U.S. must obey the laws. Responsibilities for U.S. citizens are you are responsible for voting, and it's your responsibility to serve on a jury when asked of you. All male U.S. citizens must register with Selective Service from age 18 to 26. So if needed, the government can call you to go to war. And the final box we'll be talking about is the duty and honor. Alright, the first left-hand column says allegiance. Allegiance means all U.S. citizens must be loyal to the United States and the United States only. Treason, that means a crime when you betray your country, so you go against your own country for any reason. And if you remember, they said treason is punished by death. Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance is said by Americans to show loyalty to the flag and country. The final column on the right says patriotism. Patriotism is the deep bond or love most citizens feel with their country. U.S. national anthem, okay, is the Star Spangled Banner. And our Independence Day is July 4th. Okay, that is the completion of this section. If you have any questions or need any more support, definitely reach out. You could go back and look at any point of the video. Thanks.